What's up, guys? Tia and Andy here, and we just started our second lockdown of the year. It's December 26th, and our whole province has gone into a 28-day lockdown. So we had lots of plans for bringing you along on winter activities we want to do. We have to put those on hold, but that does not mean that we can't get outside. So come along, because we have something really exciting to show you. Well, we have a fireplace in our new house that we've been thoroughly enjoying, but we're going to be leaving the comfort of the fire and we're heading outside. So in today's episode, we are actually going to attempt our first try at winter camping. We have never done this before. To be honest, we don't even have a winter tent, but we did some research and it turns out that a 3-season tent might still work. So our first attempt at this, we're going to glamp it. Well, we'll call it glamping. We're gonna set up the tent on our deck. We're still exposed outside, there's still snow, but we have a little more coverage. Maybe less wind, less snow hitting us, and we're gonna see how it goes tonight.
Do not forget to like and subscribe. We love talking to you guys and we really appreciate the support that you give us by subscribing. The other thing is, go to our Instagram pages right down here. This we actually made a poll on there to get an idea of what you guys want to see, and there were a good amount of support for trying to camp on the deck here. So if you want to be a part of that, check out the Instagram. All right, let's get into how we're going to do this. We do have a few tips for you. Number one, ideally, if you don't need to be on the ground, that's perfect. The ground is the way that you lose heat most of the time, so if our deck is actually perfect. It's wood, it's off the ground. However, if you have to do this in your backyard, what we would recommend is you dig out a portion of where your tent's gonna be and pack the side up with snow. That will try to keep the heat in a lot. Number two is to have extra padding. In the winter, you want extra padding between you and the floor. And of course, your little sleeping pad, nice and thick. The thicker the better. Bring a bunch of extra blankets and a really, really, really good sleeping pad. That will keep you nice and toasty all through the night.
And because this is our first time trying this and we are gonna be on our deck, we are bringing a lot of extra blankets. I mean lots of them. If you have a hot water bottle or multiple hot water bottles, that is also highly recommended to have in your sleeping bag or under your blankets to keep you warm through the night. Well, it's about 5 p.m. We have gotten through everything we need to do today. You know, we showered, we ate, we exercised, and we're ready to basically get out there and start camping. Now, a really important part of winter camping is layers, and you would have seen us mention this in our video on how to stay warm in the winter that you can see up here. But it's a very similar sentiment. Layers is what's gonna keep you warm. Now, really important, your base layer, you usually want something that's going to be merino wool. And that's because merino wool wicks moisture away and it doesn't absorb any like sweat, moisture, odor, anything like that. Your middle layer, you want something warm. Now, this is really dependent on you as a person. I personally get cold really, really easily, so I'm wearing a full-on fleece. If you don't run that cold, you can wear something a little less thick than this. On top of this, we're gonna have our top layer, which would typically be a jacket. I don't know if we're gonna sleep with a jacket because we have our sleeping bags, so we're gonna see how that goes. And then in the tent itself, we are going to have a bunch of blankets. So before we get started, we have to actually set up the inside of our tent because right now there's nothing in it. Let's go. So just to give you an idea of how many layers we actually brought in here for our first go at this, we have that purple pad, our foam pad underneath. Again, this is going to stop cold from coming up to us. Having this extra layer is very important in the winter. Then we've got our blow up pads. Then we each have our own sleeping bags, like our mummy sleeping bags that we're going to be, oh my goodness, there's too many things. Our mummy sleeping bags that we're gonna be getting into tonight. Now our sleeping bags are not rated for what we actually need them for. I think mine actually goes down to -6, but they usually tell you that you should go 10 degrees further than you're expecting to be in to actually be cozy. So that's why we did end up bringing the extra blankets out. So on top of that, we have this blanket. And on top of that one, we have our duvet from our bed. And then as a precaution, we each have our couch blanket with us, which in most likeliness, I am going to probably take mine and Andy's if he doesn't get cold. But I think we should be okay. And again, because this is glamping, we're using our full real bed pillows that we have from our bed rather than our blow up ones that we typically use when we go camping. One thing I'm noticing off the bat is it makes a huge difference having the door open and closed. When we had this closed, when we were both in here kind of getting ready with all the blankets, it was actually retaining our heat relatively well. Once we opened this though, I can feel like vats, I don't even know what word I'm trying to say. I can feel the cold air coming in. So enough talking, I'm gonna close this so we don't let all the warm air out. Bye.
How is anyone supposed to get cold in this? We basically moved our whole entire bedroom outside.
Okay, it's our first attempt at outdoor camping and I really don't want to wake up shivering, okay? We don't have a campfire on the deck because it's a safety hazard.
No kidding.
Well, usually that's how we stay warm, with the campfire. So
not in our tent.
I'm just taking extra precaution with the extra blankets.
Okay, yes. So, this is very beginner friendly, I will say. Costs very little, the Marmot 10 with 30 bucks. I guess we have our sleeping pads and stuff, which cost some money, but you don't need to have that if you just put like even a normal air mattress in here. Yeah, so basically just grab whatever you have at home and stick it out here. That's exactly what we did with these blankets. They're basically our couch, not basically, they are our couch blankets and our actual duvet. So give it a try and see how it goes. It's actually toasty in here.
Andy.
What?
Look, there's a shooting star.
Look, where?
Look! Did you see it?
Yes, thanks.
There it is.
It is 11 o'clock and it's about bedtime. I think Tia is regretting this decision. But we're about to head out onto the deck. It is -4 right now, feeling like -9, so fingers crossed that will last through the night. How do you feel? I think we'll be fine. All right, see you in the morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so did we survive the night?
Yes.
Sort of. We're gonna be honest, we went in a tiny bit earlier this morning. I was having some technical difficulties with my sleeping mat. And Tia was having some technical difficulties with her neck. So we did crawl inside a little earlier. You can see we took our big blanket and our pillows inside. But
we passed the test.
We still passed the test.
So
Tell us why.
The main test of sleeping out on the deck today was to see if number one, our 3-season tent would actually work for winter camping. And the second test was to see if we would be able to stay warm through the night and not freeze to death.
Yes and yes. The tent held up perfectly fine and I was so hot. My feet were sweating like crazy. I actually took my socks off in the middle of the night.
The tent itself too was completely fine, even though it's a 3-season tent. We haven't actually put this on top of snow. That's a test for another video, but we do feel quite confident that it will hold strong through that as well, because it does have a tarp lining around the bottom. And one thing that a lot of people might not realize in winter camping is that you do still want your tent to be ventilated. If it's not ventilated, what's going to happen is as you breathe in the tent, you're going to create moisture. Moisture is going to freeze, and that can make you cold. So you do still want, you know, fresh air to be able to come in and out of the tent, and that doesn't impact staying warm as long as you have all of the right gear to stay warm.
Right. This tent, it might be a little too aerated, so maybe we can try the Marmont next, where it's a little bit more closed off and actually has a dedicated little like vent hole at the top.
We'll have to see what happens, but overall, we're pretty happy with how this test went. This is a super awesome activity for right now while we're in lockdown. If you're looking for something to do around your house, like set up on your deck, set up in the backyard, this is also a really viable way to go front country camping. So if you're driving into a campsite, you shouldn't have any problems. I mean, a lot of people call that glamping, which is totally fine. Having the car obviously gives you more space to pack more blankets. In terms of backcountry camping,
this is a big no-no.
No, it would not work. We would definitely want better winter gear.
Yeah, the mats that we have are huge already. Sleeping bags are thin. My blow-up mat was not being good this time. We'll definitely want better gear if we're going backcountry camping.
So that wraps up our first test in winter camping. As we mentioned, this is going to be a mini series, so keep following along as we push our boundaries a little bit further and further. One thing that we did not try in this video is cooking outside in the cold. That's something that we'll cover in our next video, because there are some things that you're going to want to keep in mind that differ from summer to winter camping. But for this episode, we are good to go, and I think we're going to go back inside and make a coffee now. Tia and Andy, out!